Welcome back to Omaha Mom Talks. I'm your host, Jessie Gutierrez. I'm a licensed mental health therapist, wife, and mom of two. Today, we are joined by State Senator Ashlei Spivey. She is a longtime Omaha resident, organizer, and community supporter. She is also the founder of an organization, I Be Black Girl, an Omaha organization that is implementing access and resources to Black birthing people. She was elected to the Nebraska State Legislature in 2024, and she brings both community-rooted organizing and policy work to this conversation. Today, we are raising awareness about the health disparities of Black birthing people. I really wanted to have this conversation this month as October is officially Nebraska's Black Maternal Health Month. Let's get into it. All right, Ashlei, welcome to Omaha Mom Talks.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here today.
Yeah, I'm super excited to chat with you and talk more about your organization and the cool things that you are doing in Omaha. This is our first time meeting, and so please just introduce yourself to our listeners, a little bit about you and what you're up to these days.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hi, everyone out there in virtual world listening, or if you end up watching. So I am Ashlei Spivey, pronouns she, her. I am a Nebraska native, born and raised in Omaha, in the heart of North Omaha.
Awesome.
And grew up, I went to North High, which I think is important for Nebraskans. We're always like, where did you go to high school?
I'm not even from Omaha, and I ask people that.
Yeah, so Vikings all day. Okay. So I'm sure there's a lot of people that are like, V up right now as they're listening. Love it. So went to North. I left for college. I went to Jackson State University, which is a historically Black college, which was a really important part of just like my journey of who I am and what I've been able to explore. And then I moved back to Omaha about 14 years now because of a family tragedy. My mom passed away. Okay. And so I moved back here to care for my sister, who was 12, and then I just built my family. So I have two boys now, 11-year-old and a almost 3-year-old. He'll be 3 in October.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so he's definitely a three-nager.
Oh my gosh.
Running my life.
I have a 4-year-old, so I feel it.
Oh my gosh, I'm just like, I'm too old to be having a toddler because he is running me ragged.
Oh my gosh.
So then I have kids. I have really spent my entire career in the social sector, so working in different parts of just community betterment, whether it's direct service, working with clients, or at the system level to try to make sure that people have what they need to live self-determined lives. And so, I feel like I'm Nebraska through and through.
I love that. So you grew up in Omaha, and then did you imagine, like when you went off to college, did you imagine I'm going to come back and have a career and family in Omaha?
Absolutely not. So I lived in Mississippi. That's where I went to school. So that's where Jackson State is. I was there for 5 years. And then I moved to Texas for my master's program. Okay. And so I was living in Texas, in Dallas, right in the farmer's market before they like revamped it and Deep Ellum. And so now it's like super cool and trendy and expensive. That's not
it was
when
a different vibe when you were
Definitely
there.
A different vibe. But the farmer's market was still cute. And so like Texas was my home. In Dallas, that was my home. I was building my career and all of that. And then,
what did you study?
So undergrad was mass communications with a minor in marketing and Spanish.
Oh, wow.
And so I actually lived abroad in Spain for a semester to study Spanish. Oh. And then my master's program is in urban social planning. Okay. And so really more community-based work. Okay. And like systems change and policy and that kind of stuff. And so when my mom passed away suddenly, that's what brought me back to Nebraska. So I was really only going to stay to make sure my sister was okay.
Temporarily.
Yeah, she was in 8th grade, and so I wanted to see her through high school, and I didn't want any more change for her. And then being back home, it felt like there was an opportunity for me to build my career the same way that I was in Texas. So like I am investing in community, doing a lot of great work. And I was like, well, this is a place where I'm from. So maybe
investing
in this community. And so I stayed, and then I had kids and got married, so.
Yeah. And then it's like, okay, we're here.
Yeah, we're here. Yeah.
I feel that. I always wish I was brave enough to leave for college or those younger years because now I know I'm rooted in Omaha and I love it, and it's a great place to raise my kids, but I wish I was brave enough to.
Yeah. My mom is what really pushed me to leave. So originally for undergrad, I was going to SLU, which is a Jesuit school in Missouri. And so I got a full scholarship, and she was like, oh, it'll be good. And we went to visit, and by happenstance, I got recruited to play volleyball at Jackson State. So I played volleyball.
Oh, you didn't even mention that. So you were very dedicated. I mean, you have to be a very disciplined person
No. So I'm not I like volleyball. I was naturally like good at it. I am not an athlete. Like I'm not the workout 3 times a day. Like that's not my life. It's never been my life. But I had this opportunity. So like I officially got recruited. We went on this official visit and I wasn't really sure. And my mom was like, you could always come home. If it doesn't work, you can always come home.
That's what I want to say to my babies.
Yeah. And so, I mean, and it was a really great experience. I think it pushes you to mature in a way that is very different. You get to see the world outside of like what you have constantly seen. And just, again, going to a black college versus like a Jesuit school in Missouri, I really got to explore my blackness. What does it mean for me in a very different way than I had never been able to being in Nebraska where black folks are a smaller portion of the population. So, I mean, it was just a beautiful experience, but I wouldn't have gone if my mom just, didn't make me feel comfortable.
Yeah, I love that. I love her encouragement to leave the nest and go fly.
Go figure it out.
Yeah.
And
you've
I'll be
done some
here.
really cool things. That was so awesome. And I know we're just getting into it. So I'm so excited to learn more about you and a little bit about what led you to where you're at today. So tell us then about you were elected into Senate.
Yeah.
Which is huge. Tell us about that experience and some of the work that...
It is wild. I never thought I would be an elected official. Like, I used to say I wanted to be governor of Mississippi because you see the systemic disinvestment. So kind of backing up what I think got me here as part of my path. So I was really like coming out of undergrad, I wanted to be a corporate girly with expensive bags, like wearing cute suits, like, top floor office. That's what I wanted to do. And so I'm in a sorority and we were doing voter registration the year before President Obama was elected. And so we were out just registering people to vote, talking about how important the election was. And there was this woman that was probably a half a mile from campus. And this was before like Hoarders was a TV show and people talked about it, but her home would have been on that show if that was around at that time. And so she had like lots of like debris in her yard. She had dead animals in her yard. And so we knocked on her door, and her words, not ours, is that she was a functional illiterate. So we couldn't register her to vote because she depended on her neighbor to help her read her mail and navigate just life. And I was like so shocked by that experience because I'm like, who cares about her? Like she could be me, my mom, my auntie, my cousin, and she's literally like a half a mile from the university and I'm living in this bubble. And not realizing like what people are navigating on a day-to-day, right? Like I'm young, just doing my collegiate thing. And so I finished my degree because I was so far along. But that's when I really pivoted to going to school to do urban social planning and then working in the social sector because I wanted to be able to care about people. And I think someone has a responsibility to her and to people like her. And now at this stage in my life, I believe that's our government, our elected officials and our governing body has a responsibility to ensure that people have a social safety net, that they're able to navigate really complex situations and have what they need. And so I think that experience is what led me to my different roles and then to ultimately running for office last year in 2024 cycle. So I'm on the presidential cycle for state Senate in Nebraska. And so I was a down ballot candidate is what they call it.
And it was like a close race, right?
Oh yeah. Every vote counted. Yeah, every vote counted, but even in the primary in general. And so I'm not a politician. It's not what I set out to do. I really am I feel like I want to be a community change agent. And so like apparently there's like rules to things and I didn't follow any of those rules. Like I decided I was going to run and I put my name in. My opponents like out fundraised me and outspent me for like texting and all these things and I'm a working person. Like I have to work. And so like I was dependent on trying to raise money for other people and folks already had their candidates. So like I ran a really grassroots community campaign and I think my work and track record allowed for people to trust me a little bit different. I think folks don't want career politicians. They want people that are like
in their community.
And like their neighbors and are impacted by the policies that they pass. And so for the primary, I advanced by 36 votes, I think 34, 36 to go to the general. And then the general, I won by like 174 votes. And they didn't announce it till like 3 or 4 weeks later. And so because they had to count ballots. So now with our we have voter ID laws, which
I was going to say 3 or 4 days later, 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, because of our voter ID laws. And so which voter ID, I think, can be suppressive. And we see that, like, some people don't have IDs for different reasons, right? And so now you can go vote, but you have to show a particular type of ID. And they have, like, a list on the Secretary of State's website. And so they have what is called curating ballots, where if I go vote and I don't have my ballot, I have so many days to take it to the commission to show my proper ID so my ballot can be counted. And so you had a lot of that process in there. And because it was so close, there was a lot of just auditing to make sure that, like, the votes were counted correctly and all of that. And so I was actually in senator school when I found out. So as a new senator, they have, like, this senator school where you go.
Okay, I love it. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, and, like, are with they call it the freshman class of people that are coming in. And so I was like, hey, like, my race hasn't been called yet. And they're like, no, well, you're in the lead, so we want you to come. And I was like, all right. So then, I was there at school. Yeah. And I got the notification. So I was, like, in the hallway screaming and crying during senator school. But so it was a really close race. It's been a beautiful experience to be able to represent my community and the things that I feel like everyday people really want to uplift and the government should really prioritize.
Yeah. Well, I love seeing you doing your thing and representing matters that are so important to so many people. But what I love talking about so much is moms and maternal health and perinatal health. And so I want to jump into this conversation with you a little bit about some of the disparities for Black women and Black birthing people, and then also some of the ways that your organization is showing up to support and empower Black moms, and then also kind of get an idea of what you see as, like, policy or systemic changes. So we know in perinatal mental health, so I'm a perinatal mental health therapist. I support moms through pregnancy and postpartum.
So important.
I'm so protective of my moms.
Well, and I struggled with my last son with severe postpartum depression and anxiety.
Okay.
Like, I tell people I'm lucky to still be alive.
You're
and
a survivor,
so, absolutely. And so, and I didn't realize, again, so with IBBG, like, I do this work. I'm a mom. Like, I care about it, and I did not realize just the lack of access for perinatal mental health and just how it impacts people and shows up. And so now I've really started to make sure that we can align to that because, as you said, it's like it's necessary and we need better support.
Yeah. And I'm right there with you where, like, I was already a mental health therapist when I had my first. I wasn't in perinatal mental health yet, but I thought, like, I read all the books and I knew all the things. And then I suffered really bad from postpartum anxiety. And I remember once I got through the fog, I was like, oh my gosh, if I'm suffered this bad, and not only am I a mental health therapist, but I'm also fairly lucky in being resourced with family and support. How are other people doing this
that don't
have that knowledge and education, and then the support? And so that's when I jumped into, I need to take some advanced clinical training, and I'm going to help support moms in any way that I can. And so we know, and we talk about a lot in perinatal mental health about the statistics, right? And so research is showing us, which, I mean, for anyone listening, anything for maternal mental health or mental health, it's always going to be, like, underreported, right? So we're keeping that in mind. Like, so when these numbers sound high, they are actually higher.
Yes.
This is just what's being accounted for and reported. So in the United States, we have one of the worst maternal and infant health outcomes among other, like, developed nations. And the disparities for Black women are even greater. So I think, like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Black women are 3 times more likely, 2 to 3 times more likely to die during childbirth than other racial backgrounds.
Yep, and right after as well.
And postpartum.
And that's a national statistic that mirrors Nebraska.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, so Nebraska is the same as that national statistic. It's not fewer.
Okay. So for the listeners that maybe don't know a lot about this, can you give us a little bit of an overview of, like, what those disparities look like?
Yeah, Absolutely. And I think it's really important to start with the history. And so for folks that are listening, one of our board members is actually Dr. Deirdre Cooper Owens. And so she wrote Medical Bondage, which is like the history around the obstetrics field and talking about specifically how it was birthed in America. And what we do know is that the field came out of the torture and experimentation of enslaved African girls and women.
Yes.
And so you hear about the mothers of gynecology. Our building actually is named after Anarcha Westcott, one of the mothers of gynecology that was experimented on by James Marion Sims. And a lot of the procedures and things that we see in modern day medicine for obstetrics was comes from him, and again his experimentation on enslaved girls and women. And so you have this medical system, right? This that is not honoring and understanding and centering specifically Black bodies, because we know that they were discarded, tortured, and experimented on.
Right. So for those listening, this person who kind of, I don't know what to call him. He was a founder of gynecology.
Well, he's hailed as the father of gynecology. That is the narrative. Yes. He is the father of gynecology.
Yes. Yep. So he, without consent, experimented on Black women in order to learn more. But it was like without medication, obviously.
Well, anesthesia. Yeah. Well, and I think it's important because so at this time they would be considered enslaved African women, not Black yet.
Okay.
And there's no consent because it's during slavery, right? So Black people are property, right? Like we are cattle, we are collateral. And so on top of navigating enslavement, then you have the layer of being a woman, and what does that mean for lack of autonomy in a time where you weren't even seen as a human being anyway. And so this really complex and like space of identities and navigating, like now that we can reflect on, right? And so we understand that from a system level of all of these things are at play. And because we are still seeing the impacts of his research and procedures in modern day medicine, that comes along with the systemic bias. And so there's inherent bias and racism and anti-Blackness in our obstetrics field and in medicine in general. Like you'll hear people talk about the Tuskegee experiment, or right, like other things, eugenics, and so forced sterilization. And so the kind of history of our medical systems in America, that they do not serve Black people well. And then specifically when you add on the layer of gender identity, right, that compounds your experience. And so what we have seen now is for a developed country that has lots of resources, innovation, advancement in medicine, that we are in a maternal health crisis for all women. And it is compounded for racial and ethnic minorities. So think Black women, Indigenous women, and people with the capacity for pregnancy. And so for us at IBBG, our role has been really to step in because our circumstance does not have to be our reality. Like we do not have to see these maternal health outcomes, especially in Nebraska, given our population size, given the resources and the opportunities in front of us. And so outside of the death rate that you mentioned, so mortality is the death rate, we also have high near-death experiences. So that is considered morbidity. And so those are like the traumatic experiences of blood loss or having to have an emergency procedure. And again, that changes. You survive it, but do you really emotionally?
Right. You have experienced a traumatic experience that is impacting your mental health, your physical health.
Absolutely.
And your ability to heal.
Absolutely.
And care for a baby. Hello.
Yeah.
And we're expected to care for a baby.
And if you have other children or if you play other key roles in your family, like, women are usually caregivers, whether it's an aging parent or grandparent, right? Like, and so, and if you are still in the workforce, you're expected to produce at work. And so those near-death experiences are really important and I don't think talked about a lot, as well as our infant mortality rate in Douglas County. We have exasperated numbers. We're at like 12 for every 1,000 births. And so the data is lagged, of course. And so we only have 2023 data, and it's a span over the last, I think, 7 years is how they look at it. But Black babies are dying at a higher rate than any other group or population. And so we are looking at that as to why. And we know a piece, and an important piece of that, is institutional racism that we're working to address. And then also, how can we create tangible interventions that allow for people to have successful pregnancies based on what they want to have, that they are getting the mental health support postpartum. Like, what does that need to look like? And so we've been working on that at the system level through policy and convening partners and raising dollars so we can really invest in that. Because our approach is, if you target those that are disproportionately impacted or have the worst outcome, so that is Black moms and babies, then everyone benefits, right? Because you're solving for the worst. And so any mom, any parent that has the capacity for pregnancy will then benefit from those interventions and those solutions.
Yeah. And I think that knowledge and language specifically can resonate with people. I think of even in a classroom, in an elementary classroom, if a teacher is giving a specific reading intervention to a student, everyone can benefit probably from it,
absolutely.
right? And so if we're targeting the people who need that support the most, that impacts others as well for the goodness of the whole of the community. So is there anything else you want to bring to light about the drivers of these disparities, or what you're hearing from women that they've experienced in pregnancy or postpartum that have impacted?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple of entities that rate maternal health. And again, as you mentioned earlier, the U.S. is in a maternal health crisis, and Nebraska is not exempt. Usually, sometimes you'll see states or geographies have a bubble around some of the things that are happening, and we unfortunately are not. And so March of Dimes, for example, has rated us a D- because of our maternity care deserts, both in urban and rural areas. And so when you think about an access to an hospital or prenatal care, the drive time and the distance and the lack of providers means that there is not those opportunities there. So we're seeing less people get prenatal care. So during that first part of their pregnancy, before they get birth, they're not going to the doctor, they're not monitoring, which can be really detrimental. Say you have preeclampsia or high blood pressure, right? And you don't know because it's so far, you're not able to get into your doctor, or you don't have a preferred doctor that you like, or you feel like you're not listened to, so you don't go at all. Then you're not able to manage your high blood pressure, which can lead to death of that pregnant person. And so I think, the statistics really paint the picture, I think, of the stories that we hear and experiences of the folks that we're working with in community, that they are not heard, that there is not as much representative practitioners that have either their shared identities or lived experience, and then again, proximity to the type of care that they want or their honors. Not everyone wants a clinical experience. Some people want to give birth in a more of a home setting, or they want more holistic care. And so there's, again, just not the menu of options for women and birthing folks in that same way.
Yeah. Those are all very, valid points of just having choice and option that's limited for most of us. I wasn't given a menu of options of do you want a home birth, or do you want, it was just this is where your OB is, this is what you're doing.
Or do you want a midwife or an OB, right? Can you choose even your practitioner that helps you, which I think is important. And with the field, specifically in midwifery, so there's more of a movement now for midwives to practice. You have two kind of categories: nurse midwives or professional midwives. And I always like to say Black women birthed this country and we raised its children. And so the field of midwifery actually came from enslavement, because Black women were the aides or the nurses to these white doctors birthing people's kids, whether they were already enslaved or if they were, white folks' children. It doesn't matter. We were the assistants, and we birthed this field of midwifery, and that has been co-opted from us. And now there's kind of a movement to return that back to Black community, back to indigenous communities. And then from a caregiving side, which is probably a whole nother session for a podcast, that was our role in society. And so I think the role in which Black women play in our community for social safety nets and these integral pieces of child care and maternal care, are important part of our legacy and history that we are working to reclaim in a way that honors our culture and what we want to see.
And I think that even as you're talking about that, I'm thinking of this term of like, but who's caring for the caregiver, right? Like there's all this caregiving that has been done, and then she is not, she also needs that, right? Like all women need support, care, providers that listen to them.
Absolutely. And I think especially being a mom, right? Like I'm a mom of 2, and I think about all the roles that I play. Of even like today, I have a late working event. And so I talked to my husband this morning, like, okay, I'm going to order dinner. You need to pick it up. Here's where you pick up the kids. Like, even as I step away to do part of my professional career, I'm still ensuring all the pieces are together for every other role that I play for everyone else. It's exhausting and it's hard. And I think we need to talk about it more. Like, what does that look like for us of true self-care or healing that we need in order to be well?
Stress reduction, setting boundaries, saying no. All of those things. Well, I'm excited to share with our listeners a little bit about your organization that you founded and all of the cool programs that you're offering. So
so IBBG or IB Black Girl is the first and only reproductive justice organization in the state, and we use a collective action framework to advance our work. And so most people are used to direct service nonprofits where, like, if someone needs a food pantry, right, they go to the food bank. Like people that are providing a direct intervention to a person in crisis or in need or something in that moment. We don't do that. We go upstream and work at the system level. So we are looking at what are the social systems, policies, stakeholders within whatever we're trying to solve for, and how do we align them to the values that we say are important and what needs to happen so someone, for example, needing food no longer needs to need food because we saw for why that person actually needs food versus just giving them food. And so we do that by convening people. We publish research. We do a lot of narrative shift and storytelling. And then we catalyze different innovations. And so that is really thinking about how do we solve for some of the things that we're seeing. And so maternal and child health is a big part of our work. We are actively thinking about how do we try to create better birth outcomes for Black moms, parents, and babies within our community. We do it statewide, but because of population density, you'll see more of a kind of concentrated effort in Omaha and Lincoln, just based on where the population is in general, and then for Black folks. And so within our offerings for maternal and child health, we are looking at catalyzing a maternal health bus. So think like a mobile unit that goes around to places that don't have access, don't have providers, so that we can offer the perinatal support and then some of that postpartum support that you mentioned. We are looking at freestanding birth centers and how we can better make sure that those are successful models here in Nebraska. We are launching a training institute for practitioners to be able to provide additional continued learning around culturally responsive topics so that they can provide culturally responsive care.
I love that. And that's for just like OBs or all providers?
All practitioners that are touching the birth journey.
I love this.
So, so anyone, mental health practitioner, a phlebotomist, right? Like anyone that is in that space. And then we're also providing training to community members, so folks feel like they have the tools that they need to really advocate for themselves. And then we're doing some work around data. So the data in Nebraska is very disjointed. The state collects a certain piece, insurance companies collect certain pieces, hospitals, and so we're really working to try to create a dashboard that really tells a story, not of only of those like hard data points, but those stories and experiences as well, and how that informs policy and practice. And then we're doing a lot of work with community-based birth workers or doulas. And so we train doulas. We help to reimburse. We're actively working on doula reimbursement at our state legislature.
Tell us
through
more
Medicaid.
About that. Okay.
Yeah. So
because so first tell everybody, what is a doula?
Yeah. So a doula is just a trained advocate, and you can have doulas for any types of like life decisions. So specifically, when we are talking about doulas, we're talking about an advocate that has some sort of training that is supporting a parent for prenatal, labor and delivery, and postpartum. You do have some advocates or doulas that maybe help with fertility or other things before you're even trying to get pregnant, or family planning. You can have there are doulas that help with like transition, people that are end of life. I mean, like literally it's someone that is there and is offering support to make sure that you're heard. And so at IBBG, we are training folks in that birth process to be able to be an advocate. And so we have trained like 80 doulas to date. That's awesome. Have a program called the Doula Passage Program, and we created it in partnership with key organizations and people in community because we know that, again, it is very culturally relevant to us, but we were not practicing. And a part of that is because there is not doula reimbursement.
Yeah.
Like it's an actual job and there's not a pay source for it. You have to pay out of pocket currently, and a lot of people cannot afford to pay for that.
When I was pregnant and I thought of a doula, that seemed like a very like bougie elite. Like if I would have mentioned that to my husband, he was like, with what money? Like, are you going to do that?
Because people can't afford it. Yeah. And it's thousands of dollars, and not because they don't deserve it. It's because it's intensive work. Yeah. Your doula is helping you with the birth plan. They're coming to your prenatal appointments. They're there for labor and delivery, and they're supporting you postpartum. And so it is intensive physically, mentally, and they're really your advocate. And so they deserve to be paid a living wage like any other job. And so before I got in the legislature, Senator Michaela Cavanaugh introduced legislation around doula reimbursement. It didn't really go anywhere. And then the session before, IBBG worked with Senator Terrell McKinney to introduce legislation around doula reimbursement, and it didn't have enough legs and time. And so then now that I'm a state senator, I am actually bringing the bill because it's important to my work, and it's currently still alive in the legislature. And so it is currently it's an amendment that's a part of a midwifery bill that Senator Ben Hansen is carrying, and then it would kind of be a package around like a care for moms and babies as they're looking at professional midwives, nurse midwives, and then my doula bill would be an amendment, a part of it. But we're also just having conversations in general with HHS and Medicaid and then private insurers of you can offer this to your members. You don't need a law to do it. And so what is that cost? What does that look like? IBBG is running 2 doula pilots with 2 of our Medicaid providers now. And so we are getting the data around how it is really beneficial. And there's national data already around how it's changing, like and minimizing NICU stays, that more folks are going to or not having preterm births or going full term. And again, things that end up costing insurance companies or the state money, if you invest in a doula because that person is advocating, it saves money on those things. And creates a great experience for that mom and family. And so we're working through it. Our hope is that we have doula reimbursement like signed, sealed, and delivered by 2026. That it passes. But that's one of the things that we're working on within our doula ecosystem work is the policy side and the sustainability. And so that's really important for us.
I love what you said about, hey, insurance companies, you don't actually need a law to be able to offer this incredible service that will benefit
your members. Just do it. Just make the investment. And people pay a lot of money for insurance. And so
they do. And it is costing us a lot to not support women in postpartum. I mean, that's my world, but in pregnancy, labor and delivery, and postpartum.
I mean, even the postpartum world, we're looking at trying to do a centering model pilot. So we are actually training our doulas in more supports around mental health, so that what does that look like postpartum and what people are experiencing, because the doulas have more of an intimate relationship with your provider. So like with my son, I had the questionnaire that I have to fill out and I have to self-disclose, and depending on the day or if I felt embarrassed or not, I would not be honest. And so that doula ideally knows that person to say, oh, I've noticed this trigger, or this is what they're isolating, or, and they can step in to be a part of that care team then to get the right access to services that are needed versus that person just kind of suffering in silence. And so our goal is, again, to support that, and how can we make sure that we take an approach that allows that person to have power and choice over their journey, and that they feel supported, but they're getting the resources, because we know that that first year of life and right after, suicide is the biggest cause of death, right? And so, like, what are we doing about it? Like, how are we getting ahead of it? How are we talking about and normalizing what people are experiencing? And so that's really our goal, is to help figure that out, especially for Black moms and babies, and again, and see the industry and really shift to provide better supports overall.
Yeah. So IBB is IBBG. Sorry, I'm never been good at acronyms.
It's okay.
I always get them wrong. Ask my husband. So you are training doulas, and then if somebody is listening and they want to get connected with their own doula, where do you advise them to look?
Yeah, so there are a number of organizations that also have doulas, and so for us, our doula pilots are ran through Medicaid, and so if you have Medicaid insurance in the state, you can ask your insurance company, and then they would get you connected to that.
A list.
Yep. So for Medicaid, for private insurers, you have to still ask them. Some private insurers are doing it, some are not. And then you can always reach out to IBBG. And so if you are, like, we get people say, like, hey, I'm in search of a doula. We have, like, this little toolkit that we have so folks know, like, what questions do you ask for a doula? Like, because, I mean, it's like anything. You know how you have, like, your favorite nail tech or beautician, or, you know, like, like, it's a dating. It's a dating process. And so we have the questions that you ask. We have a directory of doulas that have gone through our training and provide support, but you can also reach out to, like, A Mother's Love or Omaha Better Birth Project. Like, there are organizations that also are supporting doulas and have funds that can help pay for a doula too if you're not able to pay out of pocket for their services.
Okay. And then how important do you think it is for Black moms specifically to have a doula that looks like them or has the same shared identity?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's integral, whether it's a doula or a practitioner. And I will also say it's Black people can also perpetuate the same harm because we're inside of the same system, right? And so if you are conditioned inside of a system that says Black women can experience more pain and you haven't done the work yourself to really unpack that and decolonize your approach, then you are going to do the same harm that we say other providers would do, right? And so inherently, we want to make sure that folks have the tools to unpack their personal experience and talk about culturally relevant care. And so that is a lot of the work that we do. And a lot of the doulas that want to be doulas that come to us is because they have had a negative experience, or they have seen someone that they love and care about have a really negative, traumatic experience. And so they are ready to unpack that. They are ready to create change. And so I think having someone that understands that, then has your shared identities and experience, makes it so, like, some things are just understood culturally and you get it, and this is why this needs to be, versus you feel questioned and that someone is not listening. And so we've been really intentional about what we have tried to build, and we're also always challenging ourselves to improve it.
And I want to just speak from my experience, and anybody that might be listening, it's not to say that a non-Black person can't provide good care to Black women, right? It really depends on the relationship, but there's some things, like you're saying, that there's just like a level of understanding that is going to get you kind of quicker to healing or feeling empowered or supported. Yeah,
so like my OB is a white woman. Her name is Dr. Mary Kenyon, actually, and I love her. She's at Nebraska Medicine at the Olson Center, so in Omaha. And I actually came to her because I was having a negative experience with my other provider who was of color at a different hospital system. And actually, when I came in the room, I was like very skeptical because I'm making a new appointment because I'm not feeling heard. We had some genetic scares, and like I'm just navigating a whole lot with my pregnancy. And when I came in the room, she did not rush my appointment. She asked questions, and then she said, "Have you heard of IBBG?"
Stop.
I was like, literally.
Stop it.
I was like, oh my God, I work there. I'm the founder. And so, right. So like, so she did the work. She knew she was getting a Black patient. What were the resources, understanding the data, and making sure that I felt comfortable. And I was able to say to her, like, I'm having a issue with trust. And so like, I want you to know and understand that. And she was willing, even though she hadn't done anything to date, she was willing to help rectify that so I can feel comfortable. And so I think any provider needs to take a culturally appropriate approach to what does that mean for who they're serving, and understand the nuances of culture and community in these systems, and not just feel like it's a transactional, I'm providing this type of care.
And not be afraid to get it wrong and ask questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, let's be curious as providers.
Absolutely.
And even in the start of our conversation today, I said, feel free to correct me if I, speak from a place that isn't accurate, because we should all be learning. There's not an end to our learning.
Exactly. We are lifelong learners.
Yes. And any ideas? I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but when you're talking about that mobile resource, what's your timeline for getting that up and out in the community?
So we're doing a feasibility analysis now.
I don't know what that is, but I'll follow along.
So we are looking at the regulations at the state, the cost and maintenance. And we are going to pilot it in an urban area and rural. So what would that need to look like? We're partnering with the Federally Qualified Health Center to help us with this. And so we're getting the plan. Yeah. The feasibility study is the plan. Okay. We're getting the plan together so that then we can do the funding portion of it and hopefully have something by end of 2026 or top of 2027. And so that is our goal. We're in a world where there were some federal dollars for this. That has changed. There's now a disinvestment into maternal and child health. And so we're navigating, some just changes where there was an emphasis for that change. And so we just want to make sure that we are doing what we need to do so we don't start something and then have to stop for community. I feel like that would be devastating. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Give it and then take it away. And for that practitioner cultural humility training. I can't remember what you called it. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Well, it's just culturally appropriate training for the type of care that they give.
Okay.
So.
And when are you looking to roll that out? So folks
next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And so follow us on social. So I Be Black Girl we have an Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. I like there's too many social media platforms. So I was talking to our team. I was like, do we need a TikTok? Who's going to run our TikTok? But we have a really great social team. And so they are super engaging. And then we're actually going through a website refresh so people can find some of these activities and ways to engage a lot easier. And so our website will be refreshed by middle of October, actually. So in the next week or so. And then it'll be there too. And so, and we'll do big announcements. We'll do press events. I mean, this is a big deal for us.
Yeah.
And I think it could be revolutionary in the field of maternal and child health in Nebraska. And so we will continue to talk about it and try to make sure people know.
Okay. And I'm trying to think, my brain is thinking of what I've seen recently on your socials. So first of all, I guess I'll say October is Black Maternal Health Month in Nebraska.
Yes. And so we just picked a month. There's not necessarily a reason for October, but we really wanted to have an intentional spotlight on the work that we're doing and the experiences of Black moms and babies. And so Nebraska is Black Maternal Health Month. And so we have billboards up. We just did a press event on the 1st, and we got a proclamation from the city of Omaha and Douglas County acknowledging the month. Lots of elected officials there, which are key partners to pass good policy. We just had a community baby shower on October 4th that had over 200 people there where we give gifts and have resources. And then every Thursday this month, we have sessions for practitioners. So it's geared towards people that are providing care on different topics to, again, build their capacity. And then we have 3 other community-facing events. But our team has put together 3 different offerings for community members to be able to really engage and, again, take power and choice back. And so this month we just have a ton of things, and then we continue it throughout the year, but this is just an intensive, hey folks, we need you to pay attention.
Yes. And for that practitioner series during this month, is that a webinar?
Yep, it's a webinar over lunch. Okay. So it's always at noon.
So they can go to your website and register for it?
Yep,
perfect.
Absolutely.
So we want providers to log in
and same
learn.
For community members. You go to our website, you sign up for the different topics and offerings that we have, and everything is free this month.
Okay. And
so there's not a charge because, again, we want to make it accessible for everyone to be able to really participate.
I love that. And that kind of is a good follow-up to my question. For community members that are listening, I hear from some people sometimes who are not Black, and they're like, I want to stay in my lane, but I want to support. What kind of ways can community members that want to be helpful, neighbors, friends, how can they support this
Absolutely. So they can definitely volunteer. So like at our baby shower, other events, we have volunteer opportunities. And then I think having the conversation, a lot of times people feel like, oh, because it's not me that's directly impacted, I don't have to advocate. And I don't think that's the case. There's a way in which that you can advocate and bring notice to that does not hijack or remove Black moms and their voices from the forefront, but comes alongside. And so I think thinking about what is your role, whether you're talking about the disparities, if you are participating in, a volunteer opportunity. We do a run walk in April where we raise money for this. You can donate. I mean, there's lots of things that people can do that doesn't feel like you're trying to take over, but again, that you are being a really strong partner and co-conspirator in the work that we're trying to accomplish. And so, and if you have questions, always reach out. Like we'll tell people, like, hey, we have this, or like, oh, you want to do this idea? Here's a person that's doing it. Here's how you can,
support the work that's already being done.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's enough. We don't need to be recreating the wheel here. That happens so much in the social work and community organization.
Well, and there's so much momentum, and I think, again, who does not want a mom and baby to be successful and to thrive? And so I think it's a space, even if you are not directly impacted, even if you are a man or man identifying, and like there's space for you in maternal and child health.
Absolutely.
And
like
so
you have a mother, may have a sister, a wife, kids, right? Like we deserve to have healthy moms and healthy babies.
And we need strong support systems. Yeah. And so that's our goal in helping people figure out, like, what does that look like for them? Like, we would be happy to. And again, we have lots of things where we have calls for volunteers and those things.
Okay. Awesome. And then I feel like you have another big event coming up.
Oh, probably in November. That's the Kiki.
Okay. Tell us about that.
So IBBG started with this like very informal networking event where we had over 100 Black women come together, but we had a brunch and vendors and like just really a space to gather and laugh and fellowship. And that's what a Kiki is. And so now as kind of a staple fundraising event for us, we do that in honor of our origin every November. And so this November, we have Tatiana Ali actually coming, who started a company called Baby Yams after her negative birth experience. And she gives a portion of her proceeds to maternal and child health organizations. Baby Yams is a quilt company. And so she sews and makes quilts.
Wow.
So we're really excited to have her just to talk about motherhood and maternal health and then being a business owner and what does that look like. Kenny and Michaela McMorris are our chairs for the event. And so Kenny McMorris is the CEO of Charles Drew Health Center, which is a federally qualified health center in our community that we partner a lot with around a lot of the things that we're working to accomplish. And then Michaela McMorris runs Moxie 16, which is a communications and marketing firm. And so they are just great community champions. So we're really excited to have them to help us with the event. But tickets are on sale. It's on our website. There's sponsorship opportunities. And so
you're not sold out. People can still get tickets.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we're really excited about that. And again, this is like a staple event that we do. So we had one last year to kind of kick us off and get us back to that. And then we'll continue to do it annually.
Awesome. That sounds awesome. Okay. So if anyone doesn't know who Tatiana is,
I mean, then they're like born.
What did you do after school? What did you watch?
I mean, they would have to, I don't know what the new generations are. Is that like Gen XX?
I don't know.
So Tatiana was a star on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. She also had a music career. She's actually the reason why I have my nose pierced.
Really?
So she came, I was in middle school, and she came to Oakview Mall when Oakview Mall had like stores in it.
Yeah, it used to look way different.
Yeah, way different. And she released her single, and she came to do like CD signing. We don't have CDs in the same way. This is, I guess, going to date me if you have any younger listeners. And she had her nose pierced. And I was like, Mom, I want my nose pierced. And she was like, absolutely not. Like, you're 13, but when you turn 18 you can. And so literally on my 18th birthday I went and I got my nose pierced, and I still have it pierced because of her. But she is just like a great humanitarian and philanthropist, again, an actor and singer. And so I think, just as we kind of talked about earlier, what does it mean to be a mom and have all these different roles and things that you're responsible for? We wanted to create space to talk about that and to unpack it. And she's just, again, doing like really cool and intentional work for moms and babies. And so we thought it was a perfect fit. So
very exciting. I love it. Well, Ashlei, thank you so much for taking time out of your
really
busy schedule.
Great.
I really appreciate, number one, just taking the time, but having this conversation with me, and then for all the leadership and organization and support you're offering, not just to Omaha, but to our state.
Yeah, thank you. It's such an honor to be able to work on behalf of my community and in a number of different roles. And so, I hope this was helpful to your listeners and that they felt heard or got to learn something new about what's happening in community. And again, like, we just really want to just have people have what they need in order to thrive. Like that, I don't feel like that's asking a lot.
Right.
And so I'm excited to be able to work on that day to day.
Yeah, well, thank you for all the work that you're doing. Well, to our listeners, thank you so much for listening. If this episode resonated with you, if you learned something new, or if you just want to share it with a friend, please do. We want all moms to feel supported and empowered in their pregnancy, birth, and postpartum experiences. We're so grateful that you joined us today. And to all the mamas that are listening, please take care of yourselves. Bye.